Welcome to Pankinen Financial Perspective with Ashton Pankinen from Pankinen Financial Group. Planning for your financial future means navigating challenges like market volatility, inflation, and retirement income. Pankinen Financial Perspective is here to help by addressing common financial concerns, sharing valuable strategies, and exploring ways you can work toward your financial goals. Now let's get started with Pankinen Financial Perspective.
Hello and welcome to Pankinen Financial Perspective. My name is Ashton Pankinen from Pankinen Financial Group. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, give us a call at 952-873-2703 or visit us online at pankinenfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. And while at my website, click on our radio page to check out past shows, to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Also, while at my page, click the top link to get the latest retirement guide and subscribe to our newsletter. When the federal budget bill, commonly known as the Big Beautiful Bill, was signed into law in July, we did a show walking listeners through a bill and describing the elements which may affect them most. In the weeks since the episode went live, I've received a number of calls and emails from my clients that are seeking more information about what the bill means specifically for Social Security. While we addressed Social Security and the bill during the previous episode, I thought it would be a good idea to go more into detail about it during today's show. But before we get into that important subject, let me introduce something else important. My co-host, Tony Shore.
I don't know about that one. I always feel special when I get to spend part of my day with you, Ashton.
Yes.
That's for sure. Talking finances. And it's interesting. You said you've gotten calls and emails from clients asking for more clarity about, what does this federal budget bill mean for Social Security? People are worried. Will Social Security be there? Does the bill mean there's no more tax for anybody ever on Social Security? Checks the amount I get on Social Security. Can that be taxed when I'm in retirement? A lot of people think they won't pay taxes on their benefit, but that's not necessarily true. So I'm glad you're going to clarify all of this today. It seems like we've got a hot off the presses show, right?
For sure.
Oh, and before we get started, though, go Vikings, right?
Yeah. Geez, Tony was lucky enough. We were talking before the show to get to go to the game.
Yeah, I was there in Soldier Field amongst all those Bears fans. It was pretty impressive. But there were a lot of Vikings fans there too, and it was fun. And I will say the Bears fans very gracious toward the Vikings fans. No trouble. It's not like wearing Vikings gear to Lambeau Field. I'll tell you that. But it's amazing because Soldier Field is in the middle of this park, basically Grant Park or whatever it's called there in Chicago. And I'd never been there. My wife and I went, someone invited us, bought us the tickets, great seats. We were behind the Vikings bench about 19 rows up from the 50-yard line. Just an incredible game. I mean, the first half was terrible for Vikings fans. Last half was great. But walking out, I have to tell this story. Walking out, everybody has to walk a ways, right? It's not like here at US Bank where people disperse all different directions, but everybody's packed into these paths going through the park to try to get to where they're going. A lot of people stay in hotels. So, I mean, it's thousands of people packed together, all heading out down this path, and everybody's kind of packed in. And it's kind of quiet because the Vikings fans don't want to gloat, like kind of fist bumping, but they don't want to cause trouble, right? Mm-hmm. And the the Bears fans are all kind of quiet because they just lost, and they're not unruly like Philadelphia when they lose or whatever. But so it was kind of awkward because you got a mix of Vikings and Bears fans there after the game, and the Vikings won. And it was a Bears fan started chanting, and you're going through this tunnel and there's just thousands of people walking, started chanting, Packers suck. And
everybody can get on board with that.
Everyone started chanting it. I was laughing. My wife and I laughed so hard because that broke the silence, and everybody was chanting that after a Bears Vikings game in Chicago. Everyone was quiet at first, and then after walking for about 5-10 minutes, people started chanting. And I mean, it was thousands of people chanting. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
It was so funny. Apologies to any Packers fans we have out there listening, and I'm sure we have a couple, that's for sure, but there might be a few. But anyway, that's good. It's good to have that rivalry between, Illinois,
good, clean
Wisconsin,
fun.
Minnesota. Good, clean fun. How about you? How have you been?
I've been great. Monday, a lot of people were excited about the game. We also celebrated our youngest daughter's third birthday.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
You have a 3-year-old. Exciting.
3, 5, and 7 now. So officially, I guess.
How do you manage that?
Oh, it's lack of hair there's a reason for it. I guess, so.
Yeah. Your hairline is disappearing there, buddy. Yeah.
No, it was good. We just took a little time off, went swimming at a indoor pool since it was a little chillier, and yeah. So that was my excitement.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday to her. What's her name?
Sydney.
Oh yeah, Sydney. Sydney's third birthday. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Did you get her a pony?
No ponies.
A live pony? I think you should get Sydney a live pony.
She's into Paw Patrol, so it was easy. We just got her some Paw Patrol.
Sure. That's good. That's good. That makes it easy. Yeah. Well, hey, we're talking about Social Security and how it's being affected. A lot of people want to know about this. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, we'll begin today's conversation by looking at an article in USA Today, Social Security tax breaks and what the big beautiful bill means, which I think it breaks down things nicely. At the outset, let me be clear, I don't have a political dog in this fight. I simply want to do my best to find facts and share them. And as I'm sure many of you already know, some people think this new budget bill is great and others think it's a nightmare. And that's the nature of politics, I guess.
Sure.
So first, let's take a deeper look at the claim that 88% of people receiving Social Security won't pay any taxes on their benefit. And that's a big talking point. That 88% could soon be exempt from federal taxes on their benefits. While the headline sounds great and it's meaningful, it's also important to understand the full picture. So here's what we know on that, Tony, is first off, this isn't a jump from 0 to 88%. Right now, about 64% of seniors ages 65 and older already don't pay federal taxes on their Social Security benefit. And that's thanks to some exemptions, deductions, and income thresholds that already exist. And in the current proposal, we would increase that number to 88% mainly by introducing a new deduction.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and for those who qualify, it would reduce the taxable portion of their Social Security income, in some cases down to 0.
Wow.
But that's not a total elimination of taxes on the benefits. The deduction amount is about $6,000 per person. And while that offers real relief for many retirees, it's also important to note that this deduction is set to expire in 2028. So it's not a permanent deduction in there unless it's extended or made permanent.
Sure.
And so now this all applies to federal taxes. And so it's also worth remembering that 9 states currently tax Social Security to some extent. And the good news is in most cases, those state level taxes are applied gently or not at all, depending on your income.
And of course, we know Minnesota is one of those, right? I mean, what are the 9 states that tax Social Security?
Yeah. So we've got Colorado, Connecticut, obviously again, Minnesota, which most of our listeners are probably here in Minnesota. We've got Montana, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia. And so the article also adds some interesting details about the list of these 9. So hearing the list might cause a little worry for people in those states, but if we break it down together, not everyone living in those states actually ends up paying taxes on their Social Security. And it mostly comes down to income. For example, in Connecticut, if your gross income is under $75,000 as an individual or $100,000 as a married couple, your Social Security benefits aren't taxed by the state. Other states like Minnesota, again, most of the listeners are here, New Mexico, Rhode Island, and Vermont, you also have income-based exemptions. And the thresholds are different in each state, but the pattern is similar. If you fall into certain income levels, you may not owe any state taxes either on your benefits. And so Again, there's potentially some encouraging news out there about phasing out the Social Security benefits. So for 2025, West Virginia can subtract 65% of their Social Security benefits, but in 2026, they're going to be able to do 100% of it. And so again, just depending on your state and where you live, the Social Security isn't always a given that it's going to be taxed. And the details can be tricky, but it really depends on your unique situation, your income, your filing status, and your long-term retirement strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. And in Minnesota, I know that I think the adjusted gross income for married filing jointly, if you're married filing jointly and your income is below 105,000 or 106,000,
yeah, that's right.
You don't have to pay tax on your Social Security, or for a single head of household, it's around $82,000 or $83,000. You don't have to pay state income tax on your Social Security income. But if you make over that, you do.
Yes.
So Minnesota's one of those states that you do. So
and that's where planning can come into play big time in that distribution phase to make sure we're not popping above those thresholds if possible.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's keep it rolling here. I mean, you've been talking about the federal budget bill and its effect on Social Security. What do you have for us in this next segment?
Yeah, so again, we're going to reference that article a little bit. Let's talk about a piece of the legislation that's probably got the lion's share of attention since it was signed into law in July, especially for those nearing retirement. It's that $6,000 tax deduction, which it could impact how your Social Security benefits are subject to the federal tax. And so here's how it's currently written based on the version passed July 1st. If you're 65 or older and your modified adjusted gross income is $75,000 or less for an individual, or $150,000 or less for a married couple filing jointly, then you may be eligible for the full $6,000 deduction. For people in the higher income tax brackets, that deduction doesn't disappear right away, but it does start to shrink or phase out. If your income reaches $175,000 as an individual or $250,000 as a couple, the deduction does phase out entirely. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means that many retirees could see a reduced tax burden, especially those with the moderate incomes, but it also means that the benefit is tax sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's income and tax sensitive, and we all want to minimize those tax burdens. But this is huge. And I just want to point out for our listeners and reiterate what you've been saying and what you and I have talked about. That $6,000 bonus standard deduction is for those 65 and older. Mm-hmm. And those income limits are pretty high. So this is really going to help the middle class, especially seniors, and minimize that tax burden. If you think about it, if you're a couple and you're married filing jointly and you're both 65 or older, you're already getting about a $31,000 standard deduction.
Correct. Yep.
Plus you get an additional standard deduction for seniors, which is $1,600 per person, plus the new $6,000 per person. That's all added together. So a couple, that means I did the math really quick here with a calculator. If you're a couple over 65, both over 65, married filing jointly, your standard deduction starting this year in 2025 because of this will be $45,500. I mean, that's huge. I figured it out. Ashton, my parents down in who are now living down in Fulda, Worthington area, they will not pay. My dad will not pay any taxes this coming year. And a lot of people won't. I mean, that's going to really help a lot of people. That's huge. And it'll keep them from having to pay, like you said, 88% of the people now will not, their Social Security income won't be taxable unless they live in a taxable state like they could. And I like that they put income limits on it. I mean, and the caps are pretty high. I mean, $175,000 a year for an individual in retirement if you're making more reportable income than that, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Or 250,000 as a couple.
As a joint,
so anybody under those thresholds is going to get that $6,000 per person addition.
Yeah, or a phased out addition of that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, right? To me, it's valuable, though. It just highlights why it's important to work with somebody like yourself, because you need to figure out, how is this going to apply to my situation? How do I structure my income in retirement to take full advantage of these opportunities? And I know you'd be more than happy to answer questions for our listeners out there, right?
Yeah. And they just give our office a call, 952-873-2703. Again, that number is 952-873-2703. Visit our website, pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com.
All right. So what's next?
Yeah. So now with all this, we've talked about deduction, the income thresholds, and potential tax savings on the surface. It sounds like good news, especially for those who qualify. But here's what's important to zoom out on for a moment. We also need to keep an eye on long-term health of Social Security system. Right now, according to the article, projected shortfall by 2034, it's estimated that the program may only be able to cover about 81% of scheduled benefits at that time. And we've seen this before, Tony. Historically, the government finds a way to continue to prolong this. So I'm not trying to create a big scare factor, but it does have an effect on that.
Well, yeah.
And so the shortfall is largely due to the fact that money going in and coming out, there's a shortfall there because of that. And so fewer people are paying taxes on their benefits, and the new deduction could accelerate that, could even mean less money supporting the program. So in other words, that deduction offers tax relief now, but it could potentially speed up the timeline of Social Security's financial challenges. And again, this isn't about fear, Tony. It's about being informed and proactive on it. And so that's why we want thoughtful, personalized strategies. You take a look at tax breaks, income thresholds, program projections. These are all moving pieces, and it's our job to help connect the dots and help. That's what protects your long-term goals.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought this up, because a lot of people are saying, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be there. Social Security is not going to be there. I got to file right away. But we've come to this point at least once before in our history. And what they do is they change the full retirement age. It might bump from 67 to 70 as people are living longer, or they might increase the amount people are paying in each paycheck. Those working pay in 6% or 6.5%, and their employer pays in the other half. So it's 12 or 13% is getting paid into the Social Security system out of your paycheck. From your pay, your employer usually covers half, you cover the other half. However, they could increase that even by 1%, and that would probably solve the problem and increase the full retirement age, which isn't going to greatly reduce benefits. It's just for the younger people, for our kids. I think that would have an impact, but not drastic. And that would shore things up for a while, or remove the cap. Right now, I think it's is it 175,000? Anything over that,
right? Somewhere
that you make, they cap how much of your income they can take go into Social Security. So if you make over 175,000, anything you make over that, you're not paying Social Security tax into the system. If they changed that, that would shore it up, and in a heartbeat. So they can do things. I'm surprised they haven't. They keep kicking the can down the road, and they might for a few more years. I'm surprised, because I think a politician could say, hey, I fixed Social Security, right?
Be a big campaign.
But the problem is the other side, whichever it is, would say, oh, you reduce Social Security benefits by raising the full retirement age or something like that. So it's a double-edged sword. Politicians have been wary to do anything. And so we'll see. On both sides of the aisle too. We're not getting political. It's just government kicking that can down the road. But there are so many ways, right, that they can fix this. So, and
they have in the past.
And they have.
We've had these dates that it's going to run out, and it was 2018, and then it was 2025, or you know.
Well, back in the 80s, I remember when I was in high school in the 80s, they said it was going to run out, and then they raised the full retirement age to 67, and then they made other adjustments, and so it's happened before. And it'll happen again. I mean, since 1935, when it was enacted, I think they've made over 100 major changes to Social Security over the years. I read that stat, and I'm like, okay. But so hopefully it won't go away. I mean, but it's a real crisis. So I'm glad you brought it up. What's next?
Yeah. And so again, Congress, we talked about the political side of it. Congress changes every 2 years. That means legislation can change over time.
Yeah.
So the things in the new budget bill could potentially be tweaked or even eliminated in the coming years. And so earlier we talked about the new deduction and how it could lower the tax burden for many retirees. But again, there's always more to the story. Many people don't realize that the taxes on the Social Security benefits don't go directly into the U.S. Treasury like other income taxes do. Instead, the money goes directly into two specific trust funds, one that supports retirement and survivor benefits, and one that supports disability benefits.
Yeah, so it goes right into the Social Security Trust Fund. Yeah, and that's good. It doesn't go into that general fund because we know what happens to money that goes into the general fund, right? And
exactly.
It's gone. Poof, and it's gone.
So yeah, in 2024, those taxes ended up bringing in around $55.1 billion for Social Security. And now put that in perspective, that's 4% of the program's total revenue. The bulk still comes from those payroll taxes that we talked about, where the employee and the employer pay into. And while that 4% may not sound like a lot, every piece matters when you're talking about a system this large and this important. And so the trust funds are already projected to have those shortfalls. And if it happens, you know, I'm sure there's going to be changes made, and we could see across the board either benefit cuts or, you know, that increased age of retirement. So
sure. Yeah, I think that's good. And you know, it's understanding all these moving parts. And I'm glad you're talking about this. But, you know, you've been talking about the big, beautiful bill. It's that federal budget bill and what it means for Social Security. What do you have lined up for us next?
Yeah, let's push forward into a more detailed discussion about how it may help those with significant assets, the big, beautiful bill. First change is we should discuss is a SALT cap increasing from $10,000 to $40,000. So that's state and local taxes. So the new $40,000 cap means or phases out for higher incomes. So if your income is more than $500,000, that $40,000 starts to shrink, and by $600,000 it drops back to $10,000. So the new cap is temporary. Again, it's set to expire in 2030. And so again, we're looking at a planning window. You know, we have an opportunity here to maybe take advantage of that for those who itemize, especially that standard deduction threshold. This could be an opportunity, especially for charitable giving. Between now and 2029, your donations may provide a bigger tax benefit than they will after that cap expires. And so, like many strategies, this is a highly personal. It's based on your income, your gifting plans, future tax law changes, all play a role. And that's why you should work with a financial advisor and tax professional to model different scenarios that are going to help you make smart, confident choices.
Yeah, and that's where you come in as a person who's going to look out for your best financial interests. And you've been doing this a while, Ashton. I think that's really important. So I encourage our listeners to get a hold of you, and building a financial strategy and having a plan in place is so powerful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And those, again, for those who give to charity but itemize your deduction, there's another thing out there where you can deduct up to $2,000 cash that you give to charities or church or whoever, and still claim that itemized or that standard deduction. And not
so you don't have to itemize even.
Yeah.
So now they changed it. So you're saying they added you can deduct up to $2,000 in contributions to charity, qualified charities, nonprofits, on top of the standard deduction. You don't have to itemize.
Correct. And, you know, for a lot of people who are given that, you know, $100 a week or whatever it is to different places, or $100 a month, you know, now we can still deduct those and claim that standard. standard deduction as well. And then we still have the qualified charitable distributions for those larger gifts, and as another strategy for those that are over 70.5, where we can give to charity and not have it count against our income and still be able to claim our standard deduction.
Yeah. So use your RMDs. If you don't need your required minimum distribution, you can donate it to charity and not pay taxes on it.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a lot of my clients do that because they're at the stage where they don't need it anymore. Maybe they're getting farm rent or other income sources, and and they're at that no-go phase that we talk about where they're a little later in retirement and aren't as active and spending as much money. And so it's a great opportunity to give to some causes that they care about while still getting that tax deduction.
Sure. So, were there any changes made to the estate tax exemption in the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah. Under current law, the estate tax exemption was set to drop back down to $7 million per person in 26. But thanks to that latest legislation, that exemption will instead rise to $15 million per person in 2026, which is huge. That could be $30 million per couple if proper planning is in place. And for most people, that's not a number that they have to worry about. But those with significant estates, it means less urgency around using strategies like irrevocable trust to avoid the estate taxes. And in the area where we grew up in, Tony, here, rural Minnesota, we got a lot of farmers with some farmland that this definitely comes into play, or business owners that have some value.
I mean, you got to work with a professional. You got to have a financial professional in your corner to deal with this. And Ashton, that's where you come in. So
for sure. Yeah.
Well, hey, I think we're about out of time here.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time. It's been a great discussion, but I know that you're more than happy to meet with our listeners out there. You've set aside, there's no charge, no obligation. Get a plan in place. There's for that consultation, the initial consultation, there's no charge and there's no obligation or future charges if they don't want them, if they just want to meet with you and ask questions, or if they want to work with you and get that financial plan in place and make sure they have a solid plan moving forward. How can our listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah, listeners can visit my website, pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com, or call my office at 952-873-2703. Again, that's 952-873-2703 to discuss how we can answer your questions and address your concerns about Social Security, your financial strategy, or any other parts of your retirement. It's our goal to help you prepare for retirement you've worked so hard for.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashton. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. And that does it for today's episode of the Pankonin Financial Perspective with our host, Ashton Pankonin.
Thank you for joining us for Pankonin Financial Perspective. Don't head into retirement without a plan for both your finances and your health. For more information, contact Ashton Pankonin at Pankonin Financial Group at 952-873-2703 or visit pankoninfinancialgroup.com. Join us again soon for another episode of Pankonin Financial Perspective. Advisory services are offered by Ashton Pankonin LLC DBA Pankonin Financial Group, an investment advisor in the state of Minnesota.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.